Welcome to Legit Fantasy Football, folks. Sunday, May 23rd, joined by my buddy Mastradamus. What's going on, Mastradamus?
What's going on, brother Ray? How's everything doing today?
Doing good. We got some playoff basketball today, but this is football, so we'll stick to football. Go Sixers. Go Bruins and Bruins. Yes. Great.
Yep.
It's great time for sports fans right now. There's no doubt. No doubt.
What great games we're seeing between them and Washington. I didn't know that it was like the last 13 games between them have been decided by one goal. That's insane. So
and they look good. They look really good. So go Bruins. No King Mike L today. He's taking a day off. Same thing with the Genius Kev, although he may join us a little bit later. But let's talk football. Big news this week. And you know what, Mastradamus? I got to give you props, buddy. You've been talking about this for several months now, okay? Julio Jones expressing interest to play with the Patriots. You've been on top of this from the beginning. Yeah. What do you think?
You know, I love the way Genius Kevin was putting at it because I don't think we've ever seen an offense of three juggernauts like they would be in one offense, but that's just too many. It's too much. And you've seen progress from Calvin Ridley the last few years where he is the number one. I don't care what you think about Julio Jones is still an elite receiver, but Calvin Ridley is the number one in that offense. So now you have Kyle Pitts is his number two, and you got some other dynamic players in Atlanta as well. But you can't have those three entities and watch them grow like you'd want to. And also Julio Jones is kind of getting paid pretty good, but you also could put that elsewhere and watch Calvin Ridley blossom more. So I've been seeing it not fit. Julio Jones is a piece that you could be moving on from. I never knew that he had an interest with playing with Cam in New England. But I do believe that Julio Jones will be traded here. I think he helps the outside of the offense and everything else flourish in the middle. Nelson Aguilar is not a number one. He's a nice piece, like he was with the Raiders. I think that's when he would be proved most effective. But I think that Julio Jones, and not for nothing, this offense, like it really sucks that I could be completely wrong, and I don't want to be biased and a Patriots fan when I speak on it. Bill could be given the keys to Cam, but I just don't think it's that easy. And I was really believing like they wouldn't let a rookie run this offense if they didn't let the greatest quarterback of all time do it back in 2000. But they didn't have a $100 million quarterback in Drew Bledsoe in front of them. They got a $3 million Cam Newton. So I do believe that this offense will be limited. I think that they added Cam Newton in hopes of being a fallback plan. And then when they got their man in the draft, then now you can exit. The exit isn't now. It will be when the team sees you are limited. You have a passing offense. So all these pots that are here are going to be limited by putting Cam as your helm, as your quarterback. I think that a young Mac Jones will give you a better passing down the field offense than you would by a limited Cam. But I'm just a young whippersnapper. We'll see.
You know what? That's funny because I take a completely opposite take on Cam Newton. And I think the person who will back me up on this, strangely enough, is Bill Belichick. We're not friends. I've never met Coach, but I look at the way he values Cam. And after the season they had last year, it could have been very easy for Bill Belichick to say, "See you later, Cam. We're moving on. We're bringing another veteran, then draft our quarterback of the future." And I don't think drafting Mac Jones necessarily had anything to do with Cam. If you look at that team last year, and let's all keep in mind, there was no traditional training camp. There was no really installation for Cam as far as that offense. And if you look at what he had around him last year, may have been the weakest New England Patriots team offensively that I can remember. They had nothing at wide receiver. They had nothing at tight end. Their offensive line was banged up. Running backs, they had question marks coming in. What he did, I thought, last year, Cam, and not so much on the field, but with his head and with his demeanor, to me, spoke volumes. The old Cam Newton in Carolina probably would have flipped out, would have had one of those pressers where he yelled at somebody or yelled at a reporter.
He harnessed his emotions through a very difficult season very well. I will absolutely give him that.
He's a different player now. Like, you saw the way he handled the press. You saw the way he handled adversity and failure. I like this new Cam Newton. I like the Cam Newton from last year as opposed to the Cam Newton of the past with the fedora hats and taking shots at reporters. I like this Cam Newton, and I'm not the only one. I think Bill likes Cam Newton, and I think other players in the league want to play with Cam Newton like Julio Jones.
I agree, and I think that that's a very true statement. I all around, like, I think that when you have Bill, I think it's also we've seen it many times where he has this arrogance about him to the point where I will win with this, Will, and you're going to see it, and it's going to prove me right. The only thing that it bothers me about that is I've seen it blow up in his face many times, and I don't want to bring Tom into it, but I think Tom has covered a lot of his miscues, and many times, and it's funny because I was sitting there watching a lot of old school, just football, and I'm watching a lot of these early Super Bowl victories, and there was a lot of times when those defenses kept Carolina in the game, and his defenses that he's so known for have just gotten so battered and bruised. Tom Brady covered a lot of that. I really want to see, because he had some excuses in the midseason last year where he was like, we really sold out the last 5 years to win championships. And it's like, I never hear somebody who hates excuses actually have one. And then, it's like, why don't you just say you got caught with your pants down? You were wrong about Brady. And you didn't have weapons for him. Like, even if we put Brady on this team last year, they're probably not much better. They're not. Yeah. They didn't have any weapons. So that did suck. But, having Cam go in there and do what he did, it's almost like, as a Patriots fan, I don't want to see that again. I'd rather see something else. And I think that Brian Hoyer coming in, to me, that's to tutor a young Mac Jones, because I think that Mac Jones is more that prototypical drop back passer like a Mac Jones, whereas Cam Newton, I don't think it's just a camp on. I think we might see Cam either traded, because I think that would be the respectable route. He's got a very cheap contract, very tradable. I don't know if that's to San Francisco, because they do think that I think Cam would suit that offense along with a Trey Lance. And then they get Jimmy back. I do see Mac Jones. If it is Cam Newton, I think Cam Newton either gets released or traded, but I don't see him leading this offense. If he does, it will be a short leash, and they'll put Mac Jones in if he doesn't pick up quickly and have success quickly, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny because you're a Pats fan. I'm not. But my take is that Cam Newton leads them to the playoffs next year.
Well, I think they're in the playoffs. And I do think that given the long season, I like Miami last year. I mean, they were that good that they could win without a quarterback. And a few years back, I think it was the Patriots team that lost to Tennessee in the playoffs. They won the first 7 and 9 games, and you could actually seriously minus the quarterback position from that team. They would have statistically won each of those games. But that's not what I'm trying to get at. Is you can have a good nucleus, good team, and win minus the quarterback position. I don't want to see that. What I want to see is something out of the quarterback position. And I'm not saying Cam Newton can't do that, because I believe he can. But I think what he is more injured. I think his shoulder is shot. I think that ball's coming out. And I think that there was actually a time, right, when he was throwing the ball really good early on in the season. And then you seen it was like there was something open, or it was like there was going to be this shooting pain or something if he pulled the trigger. I think he was holding back, and I think it hurt him to throw. And I think that it's almost like a pitcher. How good are you? You're good in September, but is your arm going to be killing you in October? So scared to throw it in November, and then your arm's falling off come December.
Yeah, I mean, I blame the Pats for that. It seems like they started off okay, and then they moved to this veer offense, where basically he's taking the ball behind center, and he's like a running back running the option. We all know that quarterbacks are not going to last in this league. I don't care how big and strong you are, and he's big and strong. I think this year now, Josh McDaniels finally has the Patriots offense. If they get Julio Jones, if they already got their 2 tight ends, they got their move tight end and Jonnu Smith, and they got Hunter Henry to be their traditional Gronk tight end. They finally now have all the pieces to that offense, and last year they didn't. And I think that's why you saw what you saw.
I see them adding Julio Jones just because the simple fact that, like, whether it be Cam or Mac running this offense, they have the capabilities and the spending capabilities to do it. And it, like you said, it fits this offense. So it adds, they can do it. It makes sense. It's a position that's needed. But I still come back to, I love it, but I just don't like who's distributing the ball to it. I love the what I'm looking at. I love the sound of it. I'm excited about this season, and I do believe, like you said, Cam could lead this team to the playoffs. But around here, it's not about playoffs. Like, it's about championships, and it's not an AFC championship. It's Super Bowls, and I really would like to see the young kid, Mac Jones, get his lumps and bruises early on, manage. I'm not asking him to be Ben Roethlisberger, but I do think he's capable of doing exactly what he did on the Steelers team, on this Patriots team, especially with the leadership and the coaching. And I don't want to see Cam. I'm just, as a Patriots fan, it's been a long time. I don't know if it's been tainted by the winning of Brady, but it made me not want to turn on the game last year. Like, I really got so sick of watching the Patriots. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, and I think Mac Jones is going to be a good quarterback. I mean, I'm his biggest fan, talking about him throughout the draft. I thought intangible-wise, he had probably the best intangibles, best touch, best decision-making of all the quarterbacks. So I think he's going to be a good pro. I think the one thing that will stop Mac Jones from starting next year, I mean, obviously if Cam's injured, he's going to be in there. But if this was a new coach, if this was someone just hired who maybe had a bad season last year, the pressure would be on to get somebody new in there or to make that quick decision. There is no threat to Bill Belichick's job. I
don't know about that. There's pressure on Bob Kraft, and I've been seeing a lot of reports like, Bob loves Tommy, and, they just said it. They said it. They caught him out walking around, and they said, hey, Tom's coming back. He's like, that's great. I hear the tickets for that game are going, through the roof, and I'm happy for that, But what about week 1, Miami? It's winning, and they want to win, and that's why you've seen the big off season. Like, that's coming from the top. This was a different way they go about things. They usually build from within, promote from within. The draft hasn't been working for them. Going out in the free agency and spending big money, it's very, very rare for them in the way that they did it. This is because they know, I mean, personally, I think they have a very easy schedule this year. So I do think, like you said, and that's what I kept alluding. But I agree that they're going to be in the playoffs this year. But like I said, it's not about playoffs. It's not about playoffs. It's not about the AFC. It's not about the AFC championship. It's about Super Bowls. I don't know, and I'd love to be wrong. But I just don't know if it's foreseeable with Cam at the helm. I think it's an injury, and I just think that he limits the offense. I've been watching a lot of Mac Jones too, and so it's exciting me.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be a star. We do have a comment. Thanks for the comments, folks. Please bring them. We have a fantasy football question. It's redraft. It's a half PPR league. And from Trey, question is Etienne or Mike Davis, also J.K. Dobbins or Edwards Hilaire. You go first.
I love that question, and I'll tell you right now. I love Mike Davis because he's going to be the ball hog over there. He's in Atlanta now, right? Mike Davis, he's the bell cow. I like Mike Davis. You already know what you can do with him in that offense. He's doesn't have really anybody threatening him. With Travis Etienne, with all rookie running backs, I think that they're kind of limited in their rookie years, at least for like the first 4, 5, 6 games, because they don't trust the pass protection with their quarterbacks. They'd rather see their quarterback upright. So you probably won't get what you will later in the year from Etienne. And Etienne also has James Robinson as of right now competing with totes for him, and James Robinson is going to take a lot of that work early on. So I would lean towards Mike Davis big time.
Yeah, I'm a little bit torn there with Etienne, only because of it's a PPR league. He is going to be basically a wide receiver in that offense with Robinson. So I think Etienne is going to have a lot of value. I think if this is a dynasty league, this not even a question. Etienne is going to be a star.
Is this a dynasty?
It's a redraft.
Oh, okay.
So that's why Davis is definitely in the conversation here, because he will be the feature back. But PPR really makes me look at Etienne and say he could have 5, 6 catches a game, and we know what he can do. 4 years, okay? He played the full load, carried the full load at Clemson against the best teams, in the country, in the ACC. So I would take Etienne there. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be a legitimate stud next year. Yeah. He is going to be a star. Now that Ingram is gone, him and Edwards, they're going to share the load. But you saw what Dobbins did last year at the end of the year. And the thing with Dobbins is he can catch the ball. And he's a much better receiver than Edwards. I do like Edwards Hilaire. I don't think he's as durable as Dobbins. I see Dobbins as a workhorse. Yeah. So I'm going to go with Dobbins in that one. Okay. All right. Let's other football things going on. It's funny. Tim Tebow finally signed his contract with the Jags for the league minimum. And as we expected, as we knew was going to happen all along, it's funny, that Coach Meyer was kind of playing coy and, well, he's tried out. Maybe we'll give him a shot. We all know why he's doing this. What's your thoughts on this?
I think, I was telling my wife, and she looks at me like this because she could care less, I try to, it's like the Patriots in 9/11, they got the call in the snow. That's what we're going to see. We're going to see Jacksonville be electric this year. They're set up for success. They're trying to infiltrate the area of Jacksonville, which is just elderly people. It's not really a football town. It's not, but they're trying to put a market in all these areas. Khan, the owner, has been doing everything to be a great owner. He's had great teams, and he's actually watched them fall apart. And it's pretty much because of the area that they are, and they can't attract big superstars. So now they're doing it in a different way. They're going to put Urban Meyer there, big, huge name. I would love to see the money that they threw at Urban to get him out. And now this is just another move for publicity reasons, name reasons. But I do think Tim Tebow can play. But the funny thing is there was teams that he wouldn't switch his position for, and there's players that have been out of on the market who are electric and can really win games. And you're going to give this kid a chance at a roster spot where I can absolutely see both sides, but. This is basically to pump up that fan base. They're all from Florida, you know what I mean? So this is trying to get people in the stands.
Yeah, I agree. And we've talked about this before. I think this move is the best thing for both of these individuals. I think it's the best thing for Urban Meyer, and I think it's the best thing for Tim Tebow. These two have a comfort level and relationship that goes far beyond football. You look at what these two people have done in their college days, when they were at their best, they were both together. So I look at this as Urban Meyer needs somebody that is going to have his back. And the same thing with Tim Tebow. We talked about the transition. They always wanted him to be a tight end. If he had converted to a tight end when he first came out, and you know what, I give him credit. He stuck to his convictions. He tried to make it work at quarterback. Doesn't always work out, so I give him credit for that. But everybody was telling him, if you switch, if you make that transition, you're going to have a long career in the NFL because his skill set fits that H-back move tight end position.
He's a banger. He can bang. He's a big boy.
Big guy.
Runs hard.
Big country kid. So, yeah, I think this is going to work for them, not only on the field, but more importantly in the locker room. They're both going to have a safety valve that they can go to throughout the season. And I think this is a smart move. I mean, Urban Meyer's an experienced college coach, but now, you know what? All bets are off. You're in the pros. So
think about this too, right? I really thought of this when you were talking right there. It keeps the heat off of the whole unit. It brings in another entity that will shed light on somewhere else. It's a deflection. It really is. Takes pressure off of Trevor coming in because God knows he's probably facing a lot, but he says he's used to it. Takes pressure off of Urban, and I think it takes pressure off of Tim Tebow too. Like honestly, he's working underneath his coach who he loves. I think it's going to bring, and not for nothing, you add a leader to your locker room. How many leaders are just walking around? Tim Tebow is one of the biggest leaders that I've seen come through lately in a few decades, and we're missing leaders. I think he's a great addition.
Yeah, proven winner. I mean, one of the best college quarterbacks to ever play. I mean, I don't think there's any question of that, regardless of what he's done in the pros as a quarterback, and a winner. So he knows what Urban Meyer is going to try and do, and I just think it's a good marriage. I don't think he's going to be a distraction at all. A lot of people saying, well, now he becomes a distraction. I think it's the complete opposite. I think in this point in Tim Tebow's career, he knows what his role is. He is, it's not about him. He is a team player. So I don't think it's distraction. I think it's a great thing for the team.
I think he's always played the media well. And honestly, I believe Tim Tebow when I hear him talk. I don't think he's ever been about himself. He's always been about other people and giving and selfless. I think that the proof is in the pudding when you see Tim Tebow. I think it would be great to have him in the locker room.
I agree. All right, let's transition to another player who isn't exactly being a team player right now, and a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. We know we see how this is unfolding on a weekly basis, tweet by tweet. Whether it's the team, professing their love for him and they're not going to give him up. And then him being coy, saying little things at the Kentucky Derby. We know how this is going to end, don't we, Mastradamus?
It's pretty easy to see, and you don't have to make a prediction for it. It's sad, to be honest with you. I seen he said something like they don't surround me with any talent or something like that. How I feel about Devontae Adams with or without Aaron Rodgers. I think he's the best wide receiver in the game in terms of route running, toughness after the catch. He's unquestionable. Aaron Jones, Scantling, they got a lot of, even Jamal Williams is a very nice back. But they've surrounded him with talent. So to say comments like that, that's very un-Tim Tebow. Like that is very self-centered. It's very unbecoming of a locker room, and that's what he's doing. He's doing everything he can to separate himself, like asking for the GM to be fired. And they're still going, we want to make it better, Aaron. He's like, it's just bad. And honestly, I could see him not playing this year. And that would be horrible because even, as much as I'd like to see Jordan Love with Devontae Adams. I really love watching Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers play football together. But you know what? Sometimes it needs to come to all good things come to an end.
Yeah,
I think it's time. I think it's time.
I agree. And I think he's looking obviously at what other quarterbacks have done. Tom Brady, is the closest one. Peyton Manning kind of did the same thing. And I mean, I really think right now, in my heart of hearts, and it almost happened on draft night, I think he's going to the Broncos.
Yeah.
Green Bay has no leverage in this whatsoever. They can try and keep him hostage, but I don't think that's the way that anybody wants this to go. Now, if he goes to Denver, and I think he is going to force his way to Denver, okay? If you look at the weapons that team has at the wide receiver position right now, and a young tight end, young budding tight end, and Noah Fant.
Unbelievable. He's looking at KJ Hamilton and son, Travis Patrick, and he's like,
Jerry Jeudy.
Oh my God, that's right. Jerry Jeudy blossoming.
Portland Sutton coming back from injury.
Unbelievable. He's got tremendous talent over there. And who they just secure as a running back in the draft? Was it Williams?
Yes, Javonte Williams from North Carolina. So
we still got Melvin Gordon.
To
the young kid and get him through to where he needs to be. That's a blossoming team. And honestly, they could be being built for one Aaron Rodgers. When we were going through the divisions the other week, when we were talking about 8.5 wins, to me, that's not with Drew Lock. And Green Bay's off the board. That's Aaron Rodgers is a Denver Bronco. Aaron Rodgers is a Denver Bronco. He is.
And if you're looking for a comfort level, let's be honest. I mean, who better to give comfort level to a all-pro quarterback than John Elway? His pitch, and they've been tampering. Let's be honest. Yep. Tampering is a real thing in the NFL. It comes up every now and then. Some draft picks are given away. There is tampering done every day throughout the calendar year. It's always happening, and there was definitely tampering in this case.
The thing is this, right? I don't understand the move of Green Bay. I mean, I do, because you got a fruitcake in Aaron Rodgers, so you got to secure yourself. But he was so insecure, asking for a contract extension, doing everything. But it's like, I would have liked to have seen the number one pick be used elsewhere. But in the end, it's probably going to be on something that was the biggest beneficiary to the organization, and it's Aaron Rodgers' replacement. I do like Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is going to be a good talent. I think he'll be okay. And it's just it sucks to see that these players can just uproot almost like the NBA. And that's one thing I can say about the NFL that they've done is said, you're not the NBA, and the owners have the power. So I think it would be beneficial for the Green Bay Packers to move on, because I could see them losing Aaron Rodgers' services for the year, and nobody wins. So
yeah, and they would look to recoup, multiple first-round picks, so that could position them in the future. And that only helps, though, if Jordan Love becomes the player that they thought they drafted with a first-round pick last year. If he isn't, and I have my worries. The thing with Jordan last year, we knew he wasn't going to play behind Aaron Rodgers. We knew that. However, when Aaron Rodgers was not in the game, Jordan Love did not take the field. Their third-string quarterback was in the game before Jordan Love. Now, for me, I don't like to read into that too much, but how can you not read into the fact that he was not the second man up last year?
Maybe just a simple case you don't want to get him. Like say this. What part of the year was it in? Because I don't recollect.
Toward the end of the year.
So imagine that you're at the edge of the doorstep with Aaron Rodgers, and you don't want to get your next starter injured for the start of next year, possibly. Or
maybe they're looking to the third-string quarterback. Maybe they're looking to see what he can do. So there are some other explanations for it, but it scares me when the number 2 guy is not taking a snap. So we'll see this year. He's going to have a full training camp. Didn't have a full training camp last year. We keep forgetting about that with COVID. But Jordan Love has to be that guy for them to trade Aaron Rodgers.
Well, a lot of people, I keep hearing when they, Miami bench Tua at the end of the year. I didn't really look too deep into that either. Like, Tua is a talent. And when they did that, like I said, it was Miami was winning minus the quarterback position. But I think that they didn't want to stun him, hurt him, jeopardize him. They knew that they were stunted as an offensive unit. So I didn't think that they were putting blame on Tua, but I think that they were just kind of being cautious. He is the future, as you know. So same with Jordan Love. I think that if you put him out there, you're really jeopardizing your organization's future. So every decision is very well thought out. I like Jordan. I think Jordan will be all right. I think that he actually could hide in that offense. I think there's a lot of people that can hide in that offense. So we'll see. Like,
I think you're right. I mean, that offense, let's be honest, they want to run the football, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
and they have two backs now that can pound the rock. So
yes. When Aaron Rodgers, not this past year, but the first year, it wasn't Aaron Rodgers' offense.
Right.
That's the offense you're going to see. That's the offense you're going to see. And
they're good as it gets with Jones and Dillon. Their offensive line, that's what they want to do. There's no doubt that they're a different team. It's not a West Coast offense anymore. So we'll see. I mean, I think that's another reason I think Aaron is looking at Denver as a landing spot. But we'll see how that transpires. We'll be covering that, I'm sure, throughout the rest of the offseason.
I think it's going to turn over pretty soon, I'd say. We'll see something.
Let's move on to another team that has an interesting quarterback dilemma, okay? Again, another team that just lost a Hall of Fame quarterback to retirement. Drew Brees retiring from the New Orleans Saints.
I love it.
If you're Coach Payton now, you have Jameis Winston. Everyone knows about his storied past, the knocks, the ups, the good things, the bad things. You have Taysom Hill, running back. What is he? Running back. He's more like a Tebow-ish player as well. Slide back, catches the ball, can run the ball. And to add to that, they draft Ian Book out of Notre Dame.
Yep.
What's your take, Master Thomas?
It's going to be, this is awesome because I'm a huge fan of Jameis Winston. And coaching. You can make something look really good, when it's on the side of something else. I think Jameis Winston, kind of like the Green Bay offense, he's lucky to be in the organization. He's lucky to be part of that unit. I think he's going to look better because that offense is more controlled. And I think the play calling is more scripted, whereas you see Tampa Bay is more like what's the 5 wide, the offense, the freaking Bill Walsh and Joe Montana, West Coast style, gunslinging it, letting the play. I think that Jameis will be more controlled, and that will be good for him. I think Jameis can sling it. I think that when you're in Bruce Arians' offense, we've seen that every QB that was in his offense was throwing a lot of interceptions. It's got to be tough sometimes, I think, and I'm not questioning any of their intelligence because it happened with Tom Brady too. And until Tom Brady told Bruce, like, listen, I'm going to run my offense. We didn't see Tampa Bay really,
No, that's a great point. Carson Palmer had the same issue when he played for Arians. Ben Roethlisberger had the same problem when he played for Arians.
Yeah. So, I mean, the interceptions came, and I think sometimes it's keep it simple, Steve. And when you have, the greatest quarterback of all time, you do what he would continue to do to be successful. And I think sometimes when you add too much spice to the pot, then you really mess up dinner. Keep it, but I think that Jameis is going to be all right. He's got the talent around him to do it. The defense, listen, let's not act like Tampa Bay just walked right in there. They got their asses kicked by the Saints twice. they caught him on the right time because the quarterback, Drew Brees was hurting, and Tampa Bay was had momentum, but the Saints are still like they're going, hey, who did you forget about? We're the big brother in this division, and I do think that they're going to make noise. I think Jameis is going to be all right. I'm sold on Jameis, and I think Jameis is probably a 1 to 2 year stopgap. But I'm a big believer of Ian Book. I love Ian. I think he's pro ready. Big reason why Notre Dame was very serious and beat some big teams this year. And if Jameis Winston does get off to these turnovers, you better believe that. I think Ian is going to be the backup. He's more pro ready than I'd say Taysom. I don't think Taysom is going to be the QB of the future for that offense.
Well, what's interesting though with Taysom Hill, and let's talk a little bit about Taysom Hill. I think it's going to be a straight up quarterback competition this summer. I think the best player is going to be the starter. Taysom Hill right now is making a lot more money than Jameis Winston right now. It's amazing how much money Sean Payton is paying him, and you got to ask why. Like, how can he not be the guy if they're paying him all that money?
Well, it's an inflated contract. It's a huge contract, but I think that they, what we seen last year, when they gave it to Taysom Hill, and everyone was like, "Why not Jameis?" I think it's also a playbook thing. It's the same thing as like I always say, when you start to see what do we say about a wide receiver's breakout in year 3, he knows exactly what is going on, how to attack spots, what the defense is in, what he can give to. I think it's an understanding of the playbook and being very comfortable. You don't see anybody really comfortable in any situation, work environment, meeting people, unless it's a comfortable atmosphere. Mm-hmm. So I think that given the situation that happened last year, it was basically take the playbook, learn the playbook. You don't know the playbook. You're sitting. Taysom Hill, experiment, seeing what you got. I think the option, like you said, it's absolutely still there. He is an athletic freak, capable of everything. I just don't know about the arm.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he does have the measurables. Sean does love him, and Sean Payton is just like, reminds me a little bit of Belichick and Parcells. I mean, he played under Parcells. He doesn't care what we think. He doesn't care what anyone else thinks. He's going to do what he believes is the best for his football team. And as a coach, I think those 3 guys, including Ian Book, they're lucky to have someone like Sean Payton, because I think he does wonders for the quarterback position. And when you look at Ian Book, you look at he's barely 6 feet tall, not a big guy. He's a gamer, doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, but he has these, and I don't like to do this, but he has these comparisons to Drew Brees that you cannot overlook.
I like him. When I watch college football, I think it's clear as day when you see an NFL caliber player on the football field and just making plays happen. And when I watch Book, I really do think he's Russell Wilson-esque. Like, when I watch Russell Wilson, he was winning ball games. The reason Notre Dame was Notre Dame is usually, in my opinion, a pretender. They were no pretender last year. Ian is could be the same being compared to Drew Brees and Russell Wilson because their height. But honestly, we're not seeing them need to really be that tall in the pocket anymore. You're not seeing the blitz come up the pocket like it used to. It's more around the end. So you get back 4, 5, 6 steps. You can see where your guys are. I mean, I don't know. I've never been behind there, but that's what they're saying. And Zach Wilson, I know King is not a big fan of him, but I think he's going to have great success too. I think that shortness is almost like Spud Webb. It's almost becoming a thing of the past. In the NFL, it definitely matters more. You want the prototypical 6'4", 6'5" QB, But I think it's, what are we seeing now? We're seeing these offenses kind of become hybrid. And that's the only reason why I kind of with Taysom Hill, you get a little bit more wild. I think Sean Payton that likes a little structure. I don't know what their plans are with him, but I feel like Jameis will give them a more structure to the offense. I do think Taysom, he's still going to be there. He's still coming to the games. He's probably still taking snaps. They're probably going to be doing a dual quarterback thing. Who knows? I guarantee it.
Yeah, and you know what? You hit on it. There are a lot of quarterbacks that are barely in that 6 feet range, even some under. I mean, Russell Wilson has always been kind of the best one of those. But, I mean, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Tua. I mean, these guys are not 6'4", 6'3". They're barely over 6 feet tall. They do have some mobility. It's a different NFL now. Like in the past, players like that had a lot of problems. So it's interesting.
Different NFL. You can't hit late. You can't hit them after they let go of the ball. You can't those taxing bang hitting them, just hitting the quarterback. You can't even hit the quarterback anymore when he's releasing the ball. You know, those are taxing. You know, you basically get green on the quarterback and you get a flag on you. So it's crazy.
It is crazy. All right, let's look at let's go through the divisions, Mastradamus, and I just want to right now. I mean, it's very early. We're not even in camp yet. We just have rookie camp, but let's go through each division. Give me your division winner and give me 2 reasons why for each one. Let's start with the NFC West.
You know what? I see. I don't see Jimmy Graham being part of the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know if they have any takers, so he could be. But I see the San Francisco 49ers leading that division. I think Matt Stafford for the Rams is going to be nice. But at the same time, I don't see them being as formidable as the 49ers. The Hawks seem to be like kind of sitting in that 3-4 spot. I like the Cardinals. I like where they're at. They're definitely going to be competing with the 49ers all year for that first spot in the division. I could see the Cardinals taking the division, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the 49ers up there because I just believe in Kyle Shanahan more than I do the kid from the offensive coordinator turned head coach, Kyler Murray's coach there from Texas Tech. What's his name?
Kingsbury.
Kingsbury. Yeah. I like Cliff Kingsbury, but he's got some work and he's got some ironing out to do. There's times when his offense is absolutely electric, and then there's times when it's just all over the place. I think with the 49ers, it's more clockwork. I don't care who's in there. You're going to have, and I think that Kyle Shanahan is a proven winner. I think he's up there in the top 5 coaches in the league. I think Cliff is figuring things out, but I do like the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the best division in football. I don't think there's any question about it. If you look at these teams up and down, I'm going to go with the Rams, though, only because I really think we haven't seen how great Matthew Stafford can be. I think we've seen him put up fantasy numbers on a pathetic team in Detroit. I mean, yeah, he did some great things with Calvin Johnson, but they've always been a very bad football team. He's always playing from behind. I think he now has a complete offense that's going to want to run the ball with a good offensive line and a solid defense. So I'm going to give the Rams the division, but I think any of those other 3 teams, Seattle, Arizona, or San Francisco, I mean, this is, to me, the best division in football. I don't think there's any question.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to this NFC South. We just talked about the Saints. They're losing. I mean, you're losing a Hall of Famer. Tom just won a championship with Tampa. Who's winning this division? Is it Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit closer though because the Saints are still going to win 10 games, 11 games, and if that happens, which I do think that's going to happen, I think that the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to win about 11 games. So there is going to be a race in the division. I don't think it's going to be just a walk off. I'll give it to the Bucks though, but this is the division that every year there's a different division winner. I mean, how far has that been going back? Like the fourth place team wins the division the next year. But I don't think that's absolutely possible. And Carolina with Sam Darnold, great. They'll have progress, but I don't think they're there yet. And then you got Atlanta. So I think it's a two-dog race.
I agree with you there. I mean, obviously Tampa Bay is just coming back too strong. Another year with Tom in that offense. And let's not even talk about the offense. That defense has such an incredible bright future with the young pieces on that. Best linebackers in football. I think they easily win that division. I mean, you got Atlanta and the Saints kind of retooling a little bit. And I got to say, Carolina with Joe Brady, I think Joe Brady is the best young offensive mind in football. You saw what he did at LSU with Burrow, how he made him the first overall pick, what he did for those wide receivers. And I think, what he did with Teddy last year, I don't think you can discount that.
Yeah.
Darnold has got the best chance right now that he's ever had. Yep. And I really think that this is going to be a team on the rise. I think 2 years from now, we could be talking about Carolina easily dominating this division with Tom Brady in retirement.
I agree. I think DJ Moore is going to benefit a lot from Sam Darnold. I love DJ Moore, and I think now you're going to see his capabilities and what he can do. I think he's been a hidden gem, and I think that with a more pro-style offense, you're going to see even open up room for run CMC.
Right. Right.
No,
I agree. All right, let's move on to the NFC East. Now, hey, there's no King Michael here, so we're not going to hear any giant propaganda. We're not going to be.
I wonder how he felt about the entertainer kind of telling the truth, because I love the entertainer and
he's great.
He was 100% serious about his own team, and he knows the warts and the flaws, and he calls it out. And I agree with him. The entertainer likes Dallas to run away with this division. I don't think that is possible with their flaws on their defense. I think defense rings true all the time. It's got to be Washington, even with Fitzmagic being the question mark there. I would rather take the football team over the Cowboys at this moment. I don't know. Philly and the Giants are probably not there yet. I think it's a two-team race. But I would go with the football team.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I have the same second team with Dallas. I think their defense will be better this year. They've done a really good job in the draft addressing those needs at the corner and the linebacker position. But Washington, they already have a stud defense right now.
They almost beat the champs with a nobody. I don't even know, Fulton. I think his name was it Fulton? I don't even know. He played one game, ran all over him, but gave the champs the best game in the playoffs. That was because of their defense. I talked about it earlier in this. You can win minus the quarterback position. And now if you have a little bit of firepower, if you can harness Fitz, because he is streaky, they'll be all right, I think.
And I think, Ron Rivera is the best type of coach possible for Fitzgerald. He is going to be that calming force. You saw what he did. I mean, you look at what they dealt with last year. You got Coach dealing with his own cancer treatment. You have the whole controversy with removing, the former name of the team. Now you're the Washington football team. So you're going to deal with all that. Things going on with the owner being fined. And COVID, and he steered them through that better than anyone could have possibly done.
Few years removed of leading Cam Newton to an MVP season. Now I look back and he looked great with Cam Newton. Was it Ron or was it Cam? I think it was probably Ron. Ron's all right. I riverboat Ron, man. I think he's a top-notch coach.
Underrated, completely underrated coach. I give them the edge for that reason.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they can run the ball. They got great offensive lines and defensive lines. Lots of life.
Nobody talks about Ezekiel Elliott being very fat and lazy, not hungry, not doing this. No, he doesn't want it. Antonio Gibson is unbelievable. We haven't seen him yet, and we will. We got robbed because that offense in Washington was so stunted last year. We didn't get to see Antonio Gibson's full capabilities, and we will.
Terry McLaurin. I mean, yeah, it goes on and on. So, all right, that's great. Yeah, let's move on now to we talked a little bit about about Green Bay in the NFC North. Do they come back and take that division again, or do you see the Vikings finally making a move?
It's so tough because is Aaron Rodgers there? Is he not? Does it matter? Do they still truck on? I like the Bears too. The Bears have always been pretty modest, pretty stout. The Vikings, I would believe in the Bears defense more than the Vikings at this point. And I do believe this is a transition year for Kellen Mond over Kirk Cousins. Can Cousins fend off Mond, and will Mond get his bumps and bruises? I love the offense of the Vikings. Justin Jefferson, Thielen, Dalvin Cook. But I don't know about that Vikings defense. It was Swiss cheese. I would more or less go with the Detroit Lions being the worst team in the NFL. And then you got probably a toss-up between the Vikings and the Bears for 2 or 3, and Green Bay as the 1. Mine with or without Aaron Rodgers, I would say.
Yeah, I think Green Bay has to be the pick, especially with Rodgers. The Bears. My problem with the Bears really is with Matt Nagy. I mean, 2 consecutive years, 8-8. So he can kind of complain he doesn't have a quarterback, but you won the division with those guys at quarterback. So
and I've seen Nick Foles look really good in situations, and he couldn't look good with him. So it's got to be on Nagy. I wouldn't give him too much more time there since you attached himself to Mitch Trubitsky, one of the worst picks in NFL history, in a college offense where he had 1 decent year, and it was in pretty much a run style offense. But I don't even understand. That was the same year as Patty Mahomes, right? Yeah, 2017.
Yeah.
Good for you, buddy. Good for you.
Yeah, I think I'd go with
Josh Allen. No, Josh Allen, 2018, right? No, 2018.
Yeah, I mean, Trubisky was the number 2 player in the draft that year. I mean, that is unforgivable.
Who was 1? I thought Trubisky took 1.
He was the 2nd pick overall.
Who was number 1 that year?
I want to say it was a quarterback. He drafts. Yeah, and they moved up too. I mean, they moved up that year. They moved up to number 2. So
unbelievable.
Not good. I mean, Myles Garrett was number 1.
Oh, okay.
And that worked out pretty good. So Mitch Trubisky, the first quarterback taken that year, and Mahomes was taken at number 10. Deshaun Watson taken at 12.
That's unbelievable.
Really bad. I mean, yeah, really. If you're a Bears fan, you don't want to go back and look at that draft. So enough said. Yeah, I think I would go with Minnesota as 2nd there. I think Zimmer is doing enough with that defense to keep them competitive. I just don't like Nagy. And obviously we talked about the Lions. They have a long way to go. Long way to go. I don't like the moves they made. I like their draft, but I don't think they have the right coach. And I don't think they have the right quarterback.
They're showing for the number 1 pick.
Awful. All right, let's move on to the AFC. And let's start with the AFC South.
This is going to be a long shot, a grenade throw. I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ah, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I
And
mean,
why? Because I think the Tennessee Titans are going to see kind of like, I don't think it's going to be a regression, but they're kind of going to plateau, I'd say. And then you got Carson Wentz. We've seen what we got with Carson Wentz. I love the Colts. You guys know how I feel about the Colts. The lane is there. The lane is there. And I think the Jaguars are going to, they got an easy schedule. They do have we're going to see this defense. I love the players on their defense. Colin Johnson, Cleveon Chason. They got so many names all over the place, but I can't wait to see Laviska Shenault and Trevor Lawrence and Etienne. But I got the Jaguars.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know what, you got to like what you're going to see. I mean, if you look at that team on paper, they should have been much better last year with the talent that they have, especially both lines. Yeah. I mean, I think Tennessee probably is the favorite unless there's major regression. The Colts, we're going to see this year if it was Frank Reich was the quarterback whisperer or what in Philly. Because if Wentz plays to his potential in Indy, then it's obviously Reich. So he's got his work cut out for him, but that's not a slam dunk by any means. And I do like the way that team's being built on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side with that offensive line and that, and the running back position there. So I would probably see Tennessee with Indianapolis a close second. I think next year, very easily, we are talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars as being one of the favorites in the AFC. I think they're going to make that much of a jump. Oh, yeah. The Texans right now,
they're competing with the Lions.
Oh man. That's not me. All right, let's move on to the AFC East.
Oh boy. I'll tell you, it's going to be tough for the Bills because they're going to be playing the number one team of every division, as the Patriots are going to be playing. What would they finish in? Third? The third place winner. They got an easy schedule. I'm not saying that's going to sway everything, but the Bills are going to be. I don't know. They did what they needed to do in the draft, but they weren't far superior to the Patriots even last year, and the Patriots got a lot better. So I do see the Patriots stealing at least one of the two games from them, and that's kind of weird for me saying because we've just totally mistreated them so badly for 20 years that I could see them robbing both games from the Bills. And if that happens, then it's a wrap. Patriots do win this division, but I love what Miami did. Now you got Waddle as your one, a possible Corvette as your two if it comes out the garage. But if not, you got Parker as your three, where there's absolutely no pressure on them. They have an outstanding defense. Division wide open. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, it's tough this time of year to kind of make a call like that. I think any one of those three teams that you talked about could easily win the division. I think the Jets, they have a long way to go. But I think any of those three teams, depending on what happens and if players play, if Tua is the answer, I think the Dolphins could be there. I think if Cam plays the way we think he can, and we talked about earlier in this broadcast, then I think the Patriots are there. We do know what we have with Josh Allen, though. So I think I will give Buffalo with the edge. But I do think the second place team, whether that's the Patriots or Dolphins, and right now I might give the edge to the Patriots. I think they will be a wild card team.
I do too. They'll be there. The Patriots will be there.
All right, let's move on to the AFC North.
So go back to Hub, and then you'll find.
I really believe that this is the Bengals division from here on out. I mean, I see regression in the Ravens. Baker and the Browns are there, and they are for real. They proved themselves last year. I don't believe Baker Mayfield can sling it with Joe Burrow. I don't. And I think that the Bengals have a lot of weapons to compete with, and I think that they can score with the best of them. It's going to be whether or not, because the Browns have a good defense. Is this the Browns division? It's definitely not the Steelers. I think the Ravens' days have done. I still think that they'll have fireworks because Harbaugh is a beast. I think he's a top-notch coach. I just think you're limited with what you have with Lamar Jackson. I could care less that they got the wide receiver on the outside there to complement him. Who can you distribute the ball? I don't think Lamar Jackson can, and I don't like the offense that because when you go to the playoffs, you see that even Michael Vick, like I said about Michael Vick beat like one top 10 defense's whole. It's the same thing with Lamar Jackson. You can only do so much. Can you hit every spot? If not, the defense is going to come up. It's going to suffocate you.
Yeah, I agree there. The Ravens and Steelers are very consistent. Give them credit. Even with bad teams, they always do well. They're always fighting for a playoff spot. But when it gets to the playoffs, they get shut down. And that has to do with their limitations. We've talked about Jackson. I still don't believe in him yet. He's going to have to prove to me that he can throw the ball and he can win the game throwing the ball. We haven't seen that yet. The Bengals, I think, are the up-and-coming team. That offense is going to be scary once everything starts to click. Their defense got a little bit better. I think in 2 years, we're talking Bengals.
Oof.
I think this year, though, I love what the Cleveland Browns have done with that team. I love what they've done to the offensive line. They have 2 stud running backs, 2 tier 1 running backs. If Baker can contain himself and stay within that offense, and he's got a great offense and a great coach, you get Beckham Jr. back, and if he's healthy, I think the Browns easily win this division.
The one thing that I absolutely loved about Baker Mayfield is when he lost Odell Beckham, it was nothing. Absolutely nothing. They just kept going. And actually, even when he was in there, it was like boom, 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 boom. He distributes that ball so well. I love that. Not relying on one man. Odell Beckham was just another person. Baker Mayfield is for real. I like him.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go to the West. Let's finish with the West now. This is interesting now, Mastradamus. First blush would say, yep, the Chiefs are going to come back. Mahomes healthy. They come back. They upgraded their offensive line. But what if we're talking about a Denver Broncos team with Aaron Rodgers?
Well, it's tough because I personally believe that it's going to be KC in the Super Bowl again this year. I think that they got the best offensive line in the game, at least the best left side, easily. So if you're a fantasy guy, go for Clyde Edwards-Helaire because I think he's going to have a great year. I think the pressure is going to be completely off him. With Aaron Rodgers being a Denver Bronco, I think that there could be, like kind of what Vegas is saying, 8.5 wins. I think that's respectable. I think that there's going to be growth. I think Aaron Rodgers, the sky's the limit because who knows, you could just go and have an MVP year. I don't think that the Chargers are ready yet. I think that they're gonna be there. But I'm not ready to say this is just anybody's division. This is the Chiefs' division. I think that the Chiefs are Super Bowl champions, and I think that not Super Bowl champions, but last year they played an unbelievable. What I saw from them last year is they wore that Super Bowl championship role very well, and they were a dominant team. They were weak at the Super Bowl, and that takes nothing away from who they are as an organization. I think that they're going to be right there.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to give them this division. It will be interesting to see what happens with the Raiders. I think the pressure is obviously on Gruden this year. The pressure is obviously on the quarterback. Are they going to take that next step? And we've all been waiting for the Raiders to take that next step. They have the new stadium now. Going to have the nightclub in the end zone.
Tremendous talent. They got a lot of holes on that defense, but they got no excuses. I'd like to see Henry Ruggs emerge into that number 1 role this year sooner than number 3. I'm sick of seeing 24 out of 24 for Derek Carr and their offense looking good, but they're just not. Their offense is decent, but they're just a lot of problems. I think John Gruden, it's a get off the pot. And we could see him This is a quick league. I don't care your resume. He's got to make noise in that division. He rattled Casey's cage last year, but you got to do more than that. You got to do more than that.
Bottom line, I mean, they beat them once, and I know they've been building your team to match up with Kansas City. They did make some defensive additions this year. They have the best tight end, one of the best tight ends in football, in Waller, who just gets better and is a monster every year. So it'll be interesting to see if they can take that next step. The pressure is on. We talked about the Chargers with Herbert, great young quarterback. I just don't see that defense yet taking that next step and getting them to a point where they could challenge the Chiefs. But it'll be interesting. So that's our divisions. We will revisit this in later weeks, and I'm sure some of these things will change as we get through the off season and we get to training camps. Master Dobbins, anything else you want to talk about today?
Just stay cool, stay out the heat. If you feel like you stop sweating, your skin's getting blotchy, get in the shade, grab a lukewarm, not cold water. You'll shock your body. Drink room water temperature. Hydrate your body best.
That's it, man. So hydrate. And as far as legit fantasy football, we'll be back on Thursday at 7 p.m. But make sure you tune in tonight for legit paranormal. That's 7 p.m. And I'm still too scared to join that. But it's a great show. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just a scaredy pants. So tune in tonight. Have a great rest of the day. And Brother Ray signing off for Legit Fantasy Football, and Master Thomas, have a great day.
Guys, take care. Oh, I am sweating.